The fateful encounter. The Sinclair Museum of Modern Art gleamed under the evening lights, a beacon for the elite of Westlake City. Inside, champagne flowed as freely as the donations for the annual fundraiser. Dominic Vance adjusted his custom Armani tie, observing the room with practiced detachment. At 38, he had built Vance Technologies into a global empire, disrupting industries and accumulating both admiration and enemies along the way. "Mr. Vance, your speech is scheduled in 15 minutes, his assistant reminded him before, disappearing into the crowd. Dominic nodded, his expression revealing nothing of his discomfort with these events. He preferred the solitude of his penthouse office to these gatherings of the wealthy, where smiles masked calculations and compliments concealed ulterior motives. Across the room, Elise Winters was busy ensuring the event ran smoothly. As the museum's curator of contemporary art, she had spent months organizing this fundraiser. At 32, she had earned her position through dedication and an almost supernatural ability to spot artistic talent before anyone else. Her simple black dress was elegant but practical. She was here to work, not socialize. "The lighting on the Marquez sculpture is still too harsh," she instructed a staff member, gesturing toward the centerpiece installation. "And please make sure the West Gallery remains closed during Mr. Vance's speech." As she moved through the crowd, Elise found herself studying Dominic from a distance. She had never met him, though his reputation preceded him, brilliant, ruthless, and intensely private. His donation to the museum had been unexpectedly generous, prompting speculation about his motives. The time for the speech arrived. Dominic made his way to the small stage set up near the museum's grand staircase. Elise positioned herself near the back, scanning the room to ensure everything was in order. That's when she noticed him, a server she didn't recognize, moving differently than the others. His hand slipped inside his jacket in a motion that struck her as wrong. The slight bulge under his uniform, the focused intensity in his eyes as he tracked Dominic's movement. Years of dealing with art thieves had honed Elise's instincts. Without thinking, she moved toward the stage, weaving through guests with urgent purpose. Dominic had just reached the microphone when he noticed a woman in black moving quickly toward him. Before he could react, she was on the stage, eyes wide with warning. "Get down!" Elise shouted, lunging forward as she spotted the glint of metal in the false server's hand. She collided with Dominic just as the first shot rang out. They tumbled behind the podium as chaos erupted. Security swarmed toward the shooter, but Elise's focus remained on the man beneath her, his steel-gray eyes locked with her amber ones in a moment of stunned connection. "Are you hurt?" she asked, her voice steady despite the adrenaline. "No." Dominic's response was equally controlled. "Thanks. To you." Security surrounded them within seconds, hustling Dominic toward the exit. As they pulled him away, his gaze remained fixed on Elise, standing alone on the stage amidst the chaos. "Find out who she is," he commanded his head of security, "and bring her to me. She's not safe now." In the ensuing pandemonium, Elise didn't. Notice the second man photographing her from across the room, sending her image to someone who would soon make her life a living nightmare, unless Dominic Vance could stop it. Dangerous. Aftermath. 3 days after the fundraiser, Elise's life had returned to a semblance of normalcy. The police had questioned her extensively, but eventually allowed her to return to work. The museum remained closed for renovations, a polite fiction to distance the institution from the violence. She unlocked her modest apartment, arms laden with groceries, when she noticed the door was slightly ajar. Heart pounding, she backed away, only to bump into a solid figure behind her. "Ms. Winters." The voice was deep, professional. She turned to face a tall man in a tailored suit. "I'm Raymond Pierce, head of security for Mr. Vance. You need to come with me immediately." "I'm not going anywhere with—" "Your home was breached approximately 40 minutes ago. The intruders left this." He showed her a phone screen displaying A photograph of her bed with a single red rose and a bullet resting on her pillow. Elise's blood ran cold. Why would anyone— You're now a target, Ms. Winters. Mr. Vance has arranged secure accommodation. 20 minutes later, Elise found herself in the private elevator of the Vance Tower, ascending to the penthouse level. Raymond stood silently beside her, refusing to answer her increasingly frustrated questions. The elevator opened directly into a stunning apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Dominic Vance stood by the window, silhouetted against the skyline, phone pressed to his ear. I don't care what the board thinks. Double the security detail and find out who's behind this. He turned as they entered, ending his call. Ms. Winters, thank you for coming. Did I have a choice? She set down her hastily packed bag. You always have choices. This one keeps you alive. His directness was unsettling. Someone thinks you're valuable to me, which makes you a target. I'm not valuable to you. I'm a stranger who happened to be observant. Dominic's expression softened slightly. You saved my life. That creates a connection whether we want it or not. He guided her through the apartment to a guest suite larger than her entire home. You'll stay here until we identify who's targeting us. Raymond will arrange for anything you need. My job? The museum director has been informed you're taking personal leave. Full salary continued. Elise bristled at his presumption. You can't just rearrange my life. I can when the alternative is finding you dead. His bluntness silenced her. I have enemies, Ms. Winters. Powerful ones. The attempt at the museum wasn't random. Later that evening, after a silent dinner served by Dominic's private chef, they stood on the balcony overlooking the glittering city. The night air carried a chill that matched the distance between them. Who would want you dead? Elise finally asked. A growing list. I've disrupted numerous industries, created powerful enemies. He turned to her, studying her face. But this feels different, more personal. And now I'm caught in the middle, for which I'm genuinely sorry. Something in his voice made her look up. For a moment, his carefully constructed facade slipped, revealing weariness and something else, concern. You don't seem like the type to apologize often, she observed. A slight smile touched his lips. I'm not. Consider yourself special. Their conversation was interrupted by Raymond's arrival. Sir, we've identified the photographer from the gala. He has connections to Blackwood Industries. Dominic's expression hardened. Julian Blackwood. I should have known. Who is he? Elise asked. My former business partner and current nemesis. He's been trying to take control of my company for years. Dominic turned to her, his gray eyes intense. If he's involved, this is more dangerous than I thought. That night, unable to sleep in the luxurious but unfamiliar guest room, Elise wandered to the living area. She found Dominic still awake, reviewing security footage on multiple screens. You should rest, he said without looking up. So should you. He finally met her gaze. I'm used to sleepless nights. That doesn't make them good for you. She sat beside him, surprising herself with her boldness. Dominic studied her for a long moment. You're not what I expected, Elise Winters. What did you expect? Someone easier to intimidate. Someone who would simply accept my protection without question. Then you're not very good at reading people. His unexpected laugh, warm and genuine, transformed his face, making him suddenly, dangerously human. Perhaps not, he admitted. But I'm trying to learn. Hidden agendas. 2 weeks into her stay at Dominic's penthouse, Elise had established a routine. Mornings were spent remotely managing museum affairs, afternoons researching Julian Blackwood, and evenings navigating the increasingly complex dynamic with Dominic. Tonight, they sat in his home office reviewing documents Raymond had obtained on Blackwood Industries. There's something odd about these financial reports, Elise said, comparing spreadsheets. Before becoming a curator, she had briefly worked in financial analysis. These overseas transactions don't match the company's public disclosures. Dominic looked up, surprise evident in his expression. You can read financial statements. I have hidden depths, she replied with a slight smile. Art curation requires more business acumen than people realize. He moved to her side, examining the documents. His proximity sent an unexpected flutter through her chest. You're right, he said. This could be evidence of money laundering or financing something off the books. Elise pointed to recurring payments to a shell company, like hiring assassins. Their eyes met, the implication hanging between them. In that moment of shared understanding, something shifted. Dominic reached out, his fingers lightly brushing a strand of hair from her face. You continue to surprise me, he said softly. Intimate moment was interrupted by Raymond entering with new security reports. Dominic stepped away, the professional mask falling back into place. Later that evening, Dominic received a call that required his presence at Vance Technologies headquarters. Despite Elise's protests, he insisted she accompany him rather than remain alone at the penthouse. Consider it an educational field trip, he said as they rode in his armored car. You've been analyzing my company for days. Time to see it in person. The Vance Tower was nearly empty at this hour, their footsteps echoing through the marble lobby. In his executive suite, Dominic accessed a hidden safe behind a painting, a genuine Rothko, Elise noted appreciatively. These are the original partnership. Agreements with Blackwood, he explained, spreading documents across his desk. Before everything went wrong. What happened between you? Dominic's expression darkened. Julian and I built the foundation of Vance Technologies together, but while I wanted to create something meaningful, he only saw profit. When I refused to sell our medical technology division to a pharmaceutical company with questionable ethics, he tried to force me out. He couldn't? I had secured majority control. Dominic's smile was without humor. Julian doesn't forgive perceived betrayals. As they worked through the documents, Elise noticed Dominic gradually relaxing, sharing stories of the company's early days. This version of him, passionate about innovation, occasionally even self-deprecating, was disarmingly attractive. Their research was interrupted by a security alert. Raymond's voice came through the intercom. Sir, there's been a breach on the server level. Security protocols activated. Stay here, Dominic instructed, heading for the door. I'm coming with you, Elise countered, already following. His protest died on his lips as the lights flickered and died, plunging the office into darkness. Emergency lighting activated seconds later, casting everything in an eerie red glow. This isn't a coincidence, Dominic said, taking her hand. We need to move. They navigated through darkened corridors, Dominic leading them toward a service elevator. The sound of footsteps from an adjacent hallway made them freeze. In here, he whispered, pulling her into a small server room. They pressed against the wall, bodies close in the narrow space. Elise could feel Dominic's heartbeat, steady despite the danger. The footsteps passed. Dominic looked down at her, their faces inches apart. Are you afraid? He asked softly. Yes, she admitted, but not enough to regret saving you that night. Something flickered in his eyes. Vulnerability, wonder, desire. Before either could speak, his phone vibrated with a message from Raymond. Intruders neutralized, safe to proceed to parking level. In the car, adrenaline still coursing through them. Elise turned to Dominic. This isn't just about a business rivalry, is it? Blackwood wouldn't go to these lengths over corporate control. Dominic's hands tightened on the steering wheel. No. Before our partnership dissolved, we developed a revolutionary encryption algorithm. Julian believes I kept the complete code for myself. Did you? His eyes met hers, serious and intent. The complete code is too dangerous in any single person's hands. I destroyed my portion. And Blackwood doesn't believe you. Or doesn't want to believe me. He reached for her hand, an unconscious gesture that surprised them both. Either way, he won't stop coming after what he thinks I have. And now, he thinks you're the key to getting to me. Am I? The question slipped out before she could stop it. The look Dominic gave her contained an admission neither was ready to voice. We should get back to the penthouse. Tomorrow we take the offensive. As they drove through the night-shrouded city, Elise realized she had crossed an invisible boundary. She was no longer simply under Dominic's protection. She was his ally, his confidant, and perhaps something much more dangerous to them both. Betrayal unveiled. Morning light streamed through the penthouse windows as Elise reviewed their plan. After discovering Blackwood's financial irregularities, they had decided to gather concrete evidence of his illegal activities, evidence that could be leveraged to end his vendetta against Dominic and, by extension, Elise. The gala at the Westlake Grand Hotel tonight is our best opportunity, Dominic explained. Blackwood will be there, along with his executive team. While they're distracted, Raymond's team can access their corporate servers. And I'll be your cover, the unexpected +1 that keeps all eyes on you instead of your security team. Elise's role made her both nervous and exhilarated. You don't have to do this, Dominic said, his concern evident. You've already risked enough. I'm already involved. Might as well see it through. She didn't add that the thought of returning to her normal life, away from him, had become increasingly difficult to imagine. Hours later, Elise emerged from her room in a midnight blue gown that Raymond had arranged. Dominic's expression as he saw her made her breath catch. You look... He paused, seeming to search for adequate words. So do you, she replied with a smile, appreciating his impeccable tuxedo. The Westlake Grand Ballroom glittered with chandeliers and the jewelry of the city's elite. Dominic kept Elise close, his hand a warm presence at the small of her back as they navigated the crowd. Julian, at your 2 o'clock, he murmured, with the silver-haired woman in red. Elise glanced discreetly at Julian Blackwood, handsome in a predatory way, with sharp features and calculating eyes that assessed everyone as assets or liabilities. He's watching us, she noted. Good. That's the point. Dominic guided her to the dance floor as the orchestra began a waltz. Raymond needs 20 minutes. As they danced, the practiced distance Dominic maintained in public gradually dissolved. His hold tightened imperceptibly, drawing her closer until the dance became something intimate, a physical manifestation of what had been building between them. Everyone's staring, Elise whispered. Let them. His eyes held hers with an intensity that made the crowded room disappear. For once, I don't care what anyone thinks. The waltz ended, but the moment lingered. Dominic's phone vibrated, Raymond's, signal that the operation was complete. It was time to make their exit. As they moved toward the doors, Julian intercepted them, his smile not reaching his eyes. Dominic, what a pleasant surprise. His gaze shifted to Elise, recognition flashing. And the heroic curator. How fascinating. Julian. Dominic's tone was carefully neutral. Enjoying the evening? Immensely. Though not as much as you, apparently. He turned to Elise. Has he told you everything about our history, Ms. Winters? Or just his convenient version? We should go, Dominic said, guiding Elise away. Julian's parting words floated after them. Ask him about Geneva. Ask what really happened to our research partner, Dr. Fiona Bennett. In the car, the tension was palpable. What was he talking about? Elise finally asked. Who is Dr. Bennett? Dominic's expression hardened. A brilliant cryptographer who worked with us on the encryption algorithm. She died in a lab accident. And Blackwood blames you? He believes it wasn't an accident. Dominic's voice was tight. He's wrong. Back at the penthouse, Raymond was waiting with the stolen data. As they began analyzing it, a message appeared on Dominic's secure server, a video call request from an unknown source. Against Raymond's advice, Dominic accepted. The screen filled with Julian Blackwood's smiling face. "I hoped you'd take the bait, old friend," he said. "While you were busy stealing outdated files, my team was accessing something far more valuable." The camera panned to show several armed men in a familiar setting, the secure server room of Advanced Technologies. "Your encryption was impressive," Julian continued, "but not impenetrable, especially with help from the inside." The camera shifted again to reveal a woman bound to a chair. Dr. Fiona Bennett, very much alive. "Fiona?" Dominic's shock was genuine. "How? You thought I was dead," she said bitterly. "That was the plan, wasn't it? When I threatened to expose what the algorithm could really do." "I mourned you," Dominic said, his voice hollow. "I searched for months." "Save it," Julian interrupted. "We have what we need now. The complete code will be ours within hours." The call ended abruptly. Dominic stood frozen, the betrayal evident in his expression. "She's alive," he whispered. "All this time—" "Dominic," Raymond interjected urgently. "If they access the complete algorithm—" "I know." He turned to Elise, his expression grave. "The encryption algorithm we created. In the wrong hands, it could breach any security system on Earth. Banks, nuclear facilities, government databases. We need to stop them," Elise said, her mind racing. "But how did they get into your systems? You said the security was unbreakable." Dominic's phone chimed with a message. He read it, his face draining of color. "What is it?" she asked. He showed her the screen. A single line from an unknown number. "Traitors hide in plain sight. Check your bedroom." With growing dread, they rushed to Elise's room. Inside her closet, behind the row of borrowed designer clothes, they found an advanced transmitter hidden in the lining of the suitcase she had brought from her apartment. "I didn't know," she whispered, horror washing over her. "I swear I didn't know." Dominic's expression was unreadable as he stared at the device. "They've been listening to everything, using you to get to me all along." "Dominic!" The penthouse security system suddenly blared to life. Raymond burst in. "Sir, we have multiple hostiles incoming. We need to evacuate now." As alarms screamed around them, Elise reached for Dominic, but he stepped back, doubt evident in his eyes. "I didn't betray you," she pleaded. The pain in his gaze was answer enough. In that moment, as security personnel rushed in to separate them for evacuation, Elise realized that saving Dominic's life had been easy compared to regaining his trust. Power of love. The safe house was sparse and functional, lacking the luxury of the penthouse but offering what Elise needed most: security and solitude to process the events of the past 24 hours. After the discovery of the transmitter, Raymond had whisked her away to this remote location, while Dominic went elsewhere to handle the breach at Advanced Technologies. 3 days had passed without word from him. 3 days of replaying every moment, searching for signs she might have missed. The hurt in Dominic's eyes haunted her dreams. On the 4th morning, Elise made a decision. If Blackwood had used her as an unwitting spy, she would become a deliberate one against him. The transmitter had been planted in her suitcase before she ever met Dominic. Someone had anticipated their paths crossing. Using the secure laptop Raymond had provided, she began researching Dr. Fiona Bennett, finding newspaper archives about the accident and professional papers she had published. One photo caught her attention. Bennett at a conference with Julian Blackwood, their body language suggesting intimacy beyond professional collaboration. The revelation sparked a theory. Working through the night, Elise compiled everything she had learned about the encryption algorithm, Blackwood's operations, and the timeline of events. At dawn, the safe house door opened. Raymond entered, followed by Dominic. Elise's heart thundered. At the sight of him, exhausted, a healing cut above his eyebrow, but alive. "Blackwood's team breached our primary servers," he said without preamble. "But they didn't find what they were looking for." "Because you destroyed your portion of the code," Elise said. "Like you told me." "Yes." His gaze was guarded, assessing. She met his eyes directly. "I need to show you something." Laying out her research, Elise explained her theory. Fiona Bennett and Julian Blackwood were lovers. Her death was staged, not by you, but by them. They wanted you to believe the algorithm was compromised so you'd reveal where you'd hidden your portion. "That's speculation," Raymond cautioned. "No, it's the only explanation that fits all the facts." She pointed to her timeline. The assassination attempt was never meant to succeed. It was theater, designed to bring us together so they could plant a transmitter and monitor you. Dominic studied her work, his expression gradually shifting from skepticism to consideration. "Even if you're right, the algorithm is still at risk," he said. "With Fiona's help, Julian could eventually reconstruct it. Not if we expose them first." Elise revealed her plan, using Blackwood's own surveillance against him by feeding false information that would lure him into a trap. "It's too dangerous," Dominic objected. "It's the only way to end this." She stepped closer. "You don't have to trust me, but trust that I want Blackwood stopped as much as you do." Their gazes held, a silent battle of wills. Finally, Dominic nodded. "We do this together." 24 hours later, their plan was in motion. Rumors had been strategically leaked that Dominic had hidden his portion of the code in an offshore data vault, accessible only with biometric authentication. The bait was, Set Blackwood took it. Security cameras captured his team infiltrating the decoy facility Dominic had prepared. Among them was Fiona Bennett, confirming Elise's theory. As Blackwood accessed the vault's terminal, instead of finding the algorithm, he triggered a program that broadcasted his location to federal authorities and locked down the facility. Simultaneously, the program uploaded evidence of his illegal activities, including the assassination attempt, to law enforcement agencies worldwide. In the command center they had established, Elise and Dominic watched the operation unfold. "It worked," she whispered as agents swarmed the facility. "Because of you." Dominic turned to her, the barrier between them finally crumbling. "I should have trusted you." "You had reason to doubt." "No." He took her hands. "From the moment you saved my life, you've shown nothing but courage and integrity. The fault was mine for forgetting that people can be genuine, that connection can be real." Around them, monitors displayed Blackwood and his team being taken into custody. The immediate danger had passed, but Elise sensed Dominic's lingering tension. "What happens now?" she asked. "The algorithm is truly gone," he assured her. "I destroyed my portion years ago, but kept the possibility alive to prevent anyone from trying to recreate it. With Blackwood and Fiona in custody, that threat is neutralized." "And us?" The question hung between them, laden with possibility. Dominic's expression softened. "When I thought you might have betrayed me, it wasn't just my security I feared losing. It was you, your insight, your courage, your way of seeing through my defenses." "Is that a good thing?" she asked, a smile touching her lips. "Terrifying," he admitted, "but necessary. You showed me that isolation isn't strength, it's merely survival. You made me want more than that." He drew her closer. "My world is still complicated, still filled with risks." "I've noticed," she said dryly. "But if you're willing to navigate it with me, I promise to make it worth the journey." "That sounds suspiciously like a business proposal, Mr. Vance." His smile transformed his face, revealing the man beneath the billionaire facade. Then allow me to renegotiate the terms. His kiss was gentle at first, then deepening with the intensity of everything they had faced together. When they finally parted, the world around them seemed to have shifted into something new, something shared. "I saved your life," Elise murmured against his lips. "But you've changed mine." "Fair exchange," Dominic replied, holding her close as dawn broke over the skyline, illuminating the path forward they would walk together, no longer forbidden, no longer alone. In the soft morning light, they understood what their enemies never could. True power wasn't found in algorithms or empires, but in the courage to risk everything for love. What had begun in danger had transformed into something neither had expected to find, a partnership of equals, strengthened by fire, unbreakable at last.